Once upon a time, there was a very big and noisy village market in a town far away. The sun was always bright, and the ground was always covered in thick brown dust. This market was a place where everyone came to buy and sell things. You could hear the loud sounds of goats crying, chickens clucking, and people shouting to sell their food. You could smell fresh palm oil, roasted fish, and the sweet smell of ripe bananas mixed in the hot air. In the middle of all this noise and dust worked a young man named Musa. Musa was very strong and had big muscles on his arms and chest. He wore an old, dirty shirt that had no sleeves so you could see his strong arms. On his head, he wore a cap turned to the back. Musa was a barrow pusher. His job was to carry heavy things for people who bought too much to carry by themselves. He pushed a big wooden wheelbarrow with a metal wheel right through the crowded market from morning until the sun went down. Musa was known by everyone as a very kind person. Even though his work was very hard and he made only a little money, he always had a smile on his face. Today, the market was more crowded than usual. Musa was pushing a wheelbarrow full of huge yams for an old man named Mr. Obi. The sun was beating down on his back, and sweat dripped down his face and neck. Mr. Obi walked slowly beside Musa, looking worried. "Musa, my boy, are you sure this load is not too heavy for you?" the old man asked. "There are more than 50 yams in that barrow. I can see you are sweating too much." Musa did not stop walking. He just pushed harder. "Do not worry, Mr. Obi," Musa said in a deep, gentle voice. "My back is strong. I have carried heavier things than this today. We will reach your shop very soon. I worry because I only have a small amount of money to pay you," Mr. Obi said, looking down at his worn-out sandals. "Other barrow pushers told me no. They said the money was too small for such heavy yams. But you said yes. Why do you suffer yourself for small money, Musa?" Musa carefully moved his wheelbarrow around a deep hole in the dirt road. "Money is important, Mr. Obi, but kindness is better. If I do not help you carry these yams, they will spoil in the sun. You need to sell them to feed your grandchildren. I cannot walk away and leave you stranded. We must help each other." Mr. Obi smiled and wiped his face. "God will bless you, Musa. You have a good heart. One day, this hard work will pay off, and you will not have to push this wooden barrow in the hot sun anymore." "Amen to that prayer," Musa replied. Suddenly, a loud noise came from in front of them. Two young boys were running very fast through the crowd, chasing each other. They were not looking where they were going. One of the boys tripped over a stone and fell right in front of Musa's heavy wheelbarrow. The wheelbarrow was moving fast because the yams were so heavy. "Watch out!" people in the crowd shouted. Musa opened his eyes wide. He knew if the wheelbarrow hit the little boy, it would break the boy's legs. Musa planted his feet deep into the dirt. He pulled back on the wooden handles with all his strength. His big muscles pushed against his skin. He groaned loudly as he used his whole body to stop the heavy barrow. The metal wheel slid in the dirt and stopped just 1 inch away from the little boy's face. The boy looked up, his eyes full of fear. He started to cry. Musa let go of the handles and quickly knelt down in the dust. "Are you okay, little one?" Musa asked. His voice was soft and caring. He used his big hands to dust the dirt off the boy's shirt. The boy nodded and wiped his tears. "I am sorry," the boy whispered. "Do not run in the market without looking," Musa said, giving the boy a warm smile. "There are many heavy things here that can hurt you. Go find your mother now, and be careful." The boy smiled back, said thank you, and ran away to find his friends. The people around them clapped their hands. Mr. Obi patted Musa on the shoulder. "You are a good man, Musa," Mr. Obi said. "Your mother raised a king." Musa laughed and picked up his barrow again. He did not feel like a king. He just felt like a man doing his best. He continued pushing the yams through the shouting crowd, his shirt getting dirtier with every step. While Musa was working hard in the center of the market, someone else was just arriving at the main gate. It was an old woman named Mama Sarah. Mama Sarah looked very frail, which means she looked weak and easy to break. She wore a simple brown dress that was very old. The color was fading away, and there were small holes at the bottom of the dress. She tied a piece of cloth around her waist, and her feet were in old rubber slippers. Mama Sarah walked very slowly. Every step she took seemed to cause her pain. She had a sickness in her bones called arthritis. Her knees were swollen, and her fingers were bent. She held onto a walking stick made from a strong tree branch to help her stay standing. A young woman named Grace walked beside her. Grace lived near Mama Sarah and had helped her get out of the bus that brought them to the market. Grace looked at the noisy, pushing crowd and shook her head. "Mama Sarah, please let me go inside and buy the medicine for you," Grace pleaded. She held Mama Sarah's arm gently. "Look at this market. It is too wild today. People are rushing everywhere. They will push you and you will fall down. Your legs are already giving you too much pain." Mama Sarah stopped walking and took a deep breath. She looked at Grace with kind but tired eyes. "Thank you, my daughter," Mama Sarah said. Her voice was shaky but very calm. "You are very good to me, but I must go in myself. The woman who sells the herbs knows exactly what I need. I must show her how my joints are swelling so she can give me the right dogonjaro leaves and the correct roots. If you go, she might give you the wrong one, and this pain will not let me sleep tonight." "But Mama, what if someone knocks you over?" Grace asked. "You are too old to be walking in this dust and heat." Mama Sarah smiled and patted Grace's hand. "God will protect me. I am only going to buy my simple medicine. I will walk slowly by the side of the road. I will not go to the center where the big trucks park. Do not worry about me. Go and buy your food, and I will see you at home later." Grace sighed because she knew Mama Sarah was a stubborn woman when she made up her mind.
"Okay, Mama.
Please be very careful. Hold your money tight." "I will," Mama Sarah said. Mama Sarah reached down to the waist of her wrapper. She untied a small knot in the cloth. Inside the knot were a few dirty and crumpled Naira notes. It was all the money she had in the whole world. She had saved it bit by bit just to buy this medicine. Her bones hurt her every single day. Some days, she could not even stand up to cook food for herself. She knew the traditional herbs from the market would make the pain go away for a few weeks. She tied the money back into a tight knot and held it safely against her side. Slowly, Mama Sarah began her journey into the loud market. Walking was very hard for her. The dirt path was not flat. There were stones, holes, and empty pure water bags everywhere on the ground. She had to look down at her feet for every step she took. Around her, people were shouting loud prices. "Buy your fresh fish here," a woman screamed. "Shoes for small children very cheap," a young man yelled right next to her ear. Mama Sarah kept her head down. She moved to the side of the path to let a man carrying a heavy sack of rice pass by. The sack brushed against her shoulder, making her stumble a little, but she used her stick to catch her balance. She took a deep breath and kept moving. She walked past stalls selling beautiful, colorful clothes. She saw shiny gold necklaces and expensive shoes. She did not look at them for long. She knew she could never buy such things. She only cared about reaching the herb seller. The sun grew hotter. Mama Sarah felt very thirsty, but she could not spend her money on water. Every single note was meant for her medicine. She stopped for a minute under the shade of a big umbrella to rest her aching legs. While she rested, a young girl with a basket of oranges on her head walked past. The girl bumped into a table, and one orange fell from her basket. It rolled on the ground and stopped right next to Mama Sarah's feet. The young girl did not notice. She kept walking into the crowd. Mama Sarah looked at the orange. She knew the young girl would get in trouble if she lost her fruit. Even though her knees were screaming in pain, Mama Sarah slowly bent down. It took her a long time. Her bones made a soft clicking sound. She picked up the dusty orange with her shaking hands. "My child," Mama Sarah called out, but her voice was too weak. The noise of the market swallowed her words. She tried to walk faster to catch the girl. "Little girl with the oranges, stop." A man selling belts heard Mama Sarah and whistled loudly to the young girl. The girl turned around. Mama Sarah finally reached her and handed the orange back. "You dropped this, my child," Mama Sarah said, breathing heavily. "Keep it safe. Do not let your mother lose money today." The little girl took the orange and smiled widely. "Thank you, Mama. God bless you." "God bless you too," Mama Sarah said. The little act of kindness made Mama Sarah feel a little better, but it also made her very tired. Her chest moved up and down as she tried to catch her breath. She wiped sweat from her wrinkled forehead with the back of her hand. She still had a long way to go to reach the herb cellar. She continued her slow walk. Now she was entering a different part of the market. This part smelled earthy and strong. She could smell dried bark, crushed leaves, and roasted seeds. She knew she was getting close to the medicine women. As she walked, she looked across the open space. Far away, she saw Musa. She did not know his name, but she saw the young man with the big muscles and the backward cap. Musa had just finished putting the heavy yams into Mr. Obi's shop. He was sitting on the edge of his empty wheelbarrow, drinking a bag of cold water. He poured some of the water over his head to cool down his hot body. Mama Sarah watched him for a second. She liked seeing young men working hard instead of causing trouble. She smiled to herself and looked back at her path. She finally saw the stall she was looking for. It belonged to Mama Chaik, the woman who sold the best roots and herbs in the village. The stall was very simple. It was just a big wooden table covered with hundreds of different green leaves, brown sticks, and small glass bottles filled with dark liquids. Mama Sarah felt happy. Her long walk was almost over. She could almost feel the pain leaving her body just by looking at the medicine. She walked up to the wooden table. Mama Chaik was busy tying some leaves together with a piece of string. "Welcome, Mama Sarah," the herb seller said with a warm smile. "I have not seen you in a long time. The market missed you." "Thank you, my sister," Mama Sarah replied. Her voice sounded tired but happy. "My legs have not been good. The pain is too much. It bites me like an angry dog in the night. I could not come out for many weeks." "I am sorry to hear that," Mama Chaik said, putting down her leaves. She looked at Mama Sarah's swollen fingers. "The bone sickness is a terrible thing. It has made your joints very big. Have you been drinking hot water in the morning?" "I have tried everything," Mama Sarah explained, "but nothing works anymore. I need the strong medicine today. I need the fresh dogoyaro leaves, the bitter root, and the black oil to rub on my knees. I want the exact ones you mixed for me last year. That is the only thing that gives me peace." Mama Chaik nodded her head slowly. "I know exactly what you need. I went to the deep forest just yesterday to cut fresh dogoyaro. It is very strong. It will chase the pain away quickly." Mama Sarah sighed with relief. "Thank God. Please pack them for me. I brought my money." She began to untie the knot in her wrapper again. Her stiff fingers struggled with the tight cloth. It took her a whole minute to pull out the crumpled notes. She smoothed them out on the wooden table one by one. The notes were old and dirty, but they were very precious to her. "This is all I have," Mama Sarah said softly, pushing the money toward the herb seller. "Please make sure the leaves are enough for 1 month. I do not know when I will have the strength to come back to this noisy place." Mama Chaik looked at the money and then smiled at the old woman. "Do not worry, Mama Sarah. I will add extra roots for you for free. You are a good person, and you should not suffer." Mama Chaik turned around to a big basket behind her. She started picking the freshest, greenest leaves. She placed them carefully on an old newspaper. Then she took a sharp knife and cut a piece of hard brown root. She added a small plastic bottle filled with thick, black oil. Mama Sarah watched with happy eyes. She could already imagine boiling the leaves at home. She could imagine drinking the bitter tea and feeling the warmth spread through her aching body. She leaned her weight on her wooden stick and waited patiently. The noisy sounds of the market seemed to fade away. For a moment, everything felt peaceful. She had her money on the table, and her medicine was almost ready. But out in the crowded market, the peace was about to break. Heavy footsteps were walking toward the medicine stall, bringing anger, pride, and trouble to Mama Sarah's quiet morning. The peace at the medicine stall did not last long. Suddenly, the loud noise of the village market began to die down. It happened very fast, like someone turned off a loud radio. The women stopped shouting the prices of their fish. The young men pushing heavy wheelbarrows stopped in their tracks. Everyone turned their heads toward the main entrance of the market. There was a thick feeling of fear in the hot air. People began to whisper to each other. The whispers spread quickly from shop to shop. They were saying, "She is here. The chairman's wife has come." A big, shiny silver car drove right into the middle of the market. This was a place where cars were never allowed to go. The road was only for people walking, but this silver car did not care. The driver pressed the horn very loudly. The sound was sharp and angry. It forced the poor traders to jump out of the way so they would not get hit. The big car finally stopped near the stalls selling fresh vegetables. A man quickly jumped out of the driver's seat and ran to open the back door. A young woman stepped out of the car and placed her expensive shoes into the brown dust. Her name was Linda. Linda was in her 20s, and she looked like she belonged in a wealthy city, not a dusty village market. She wore a very clean, crisp white blouse that shone brightly in the sun. Her blue jeans were a famous designer brand, perfectly tight and very expensive. She wore dark sunglasses over her eyes and thick gold jewelry on her wrists and neck. She looked completely out of place among the poor traders wearing faded wrappers and old shirts. Linda did not look at the market with kindness. She looked at the people as if they were dirty insects crawling on her floor. She was the wife of the market chairman. Her husband was a very cruel man who had forced his way into power. He acted like he owned the entire market. He had created a group of tough men who went around forcing everyone to pay daily taxes. He called it a development levy. But he never used the money to fix the market. He used the money to buy big cars and expensive clothes for his young wife. Because of her husband, Linda had all the power. She could do whatever she wanted, and nobody could stop her. Behind Linda, two very big men stepped out of another car. They were her bodyguards. They wore tight black shirts, and they held thick wooden sticks in their hands. They stood closely behind Linda, ready to hurt anyone who made her angry. Linda began to walk down the narrow path between the wooden tables. As she walked, the traders lowered their heads. Nobody wanted to look her in the eye. They knew that making eye contact with Linda could bring big trouble. She pointed her sharp finger with long red nails at the different shops as she passed. "You," Linda said, pointing at a woman selling bags of rice. "Your shop is too far out into the road. Move it back right now, or my boys will throw your rice into the mud." The woman was very old, but she started shaking with fear. "Yes, Madam Linda," the woman said quickly. She began dragging her heavy bags of rice backward, struggling and sweating. But Linda did not care to help or even look at her again. Linda just kept walking. Linda stopped in front of a man named Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas sold fresh yams. He was the same man Musa had helped earlier in the morning. Mr. Thomas was arranging his yams in a neat pile when Linda's shadow fell over his table. He looked up and his face turned pale. "Good morning, Madam Linda," Mr. Thomas said. He bowed his head very low. His hands were shaking as he held a big tuber of yam. Linda took off her dark sunglasses and looked at him. Her face was very cold. "Do not tell me good morning," Linda said in a loud, sharp voice. "I do not care about your morning. Tell me where my money is. Have you paid the market tax for today?" Mr. Thomas swallowed hard. He looked at the two big men standing behind Linda holding their wooden sticks. "Madam Linda, please have mercy on me," Mr. Thomas begged. "The sun just came up not long ago. I have not sold a single yam today. Not one person has given me any money. Please give me a few hours. Let the market get busy. I will pay the tax this afternoon, I promise you." Linda laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. It was a mean and mocking sound. "Do you think I have time to come back here in the afternoon to check on you? Do you think my husband's union runs on promises? We run on cash. If you do not have the money, why did you open your shop today?" "I have to feed my family, madam," Mr. Thomas cried out. "My wife is sick at home. I need to sell these yams to buy her medicine and to pay your husband's tax. Just give me a little time." Linda crossed her arms over her crisp white blouse. "Your sick wife is not my problem. The rules are the rules. If you cannot pay the development levy, then you cannot sell here." Linda turned to her two big guards. Boys, carry his yams away. Put them in the trunk of my car. Since he has no money, the union will take his yams instead. The two big men stepped forward. They grabbed the huge yams and started throwing them carelessly onto the dirty ground, kicking them toward the car. No, please, stop, Mr. Thomas screamed. He fell to his knees in the dust. He grabbed the edge of Linda's designer jeans. I am begging you, madam. If you take my yams, my family will starve. Linda looked down at him with pure anger. She kicked her foot hard, shaking him off her leg. Do not touch my clothes with your dirty hands. You will ruin my jeans, she shouted. Pay the money right now, or my boys will break your table to pieces. A woman selling vegetables next to Mr. Thomas could not watch him suffer anymore. She quickly reached into her own bag, pulled out some crumpled money, and ran over. Here, Madam Linda, the vegetable seller said, crying. I will pay for him. Please leave his yams alone. Linda snatched the money from the vegetable seller's hand. She counted it slowly, making sure every single naira was there. When she was satisfied, she put the money into a small fancy bag hanging from her shoulder. You are lucky you have good neighbors, old man, Linda said coldly. But tomorrow the price goes up for you. Learn to respect the chairman. Linda turned around and continued her walk. She strutted down the path like a proud peacock. The poor traders were sweating. Some were silently crying. They all knew this was unfair. They knew the tax was illegal. But what could they do? If they reported to the local police, the police would do nothing because the chairman gave them free money every week. The traders were trapped. Linda moved further down the line of shops. She was enjoying the power she had over these people. She liked making them beg. It made her feel very important. She stopped next at a small shop made of old wood and rusted metal sheets. Inside the shop was a woman named Mrs. Mary. Mrs. Mary sold pure red palm oil in big plastic bottles. When Mrs. Mary saw Linda coming, she tried to quickly close the wooden door of her shop to hide. But she was not fast enough. Linda saw her moving and rushed forward. Linda slammed her hands flat on the wooden door, pushing it open before Mrs. Mary could lock it. You think you can hide from me? Linda shouted, stepping into the small shop. She looked around with disgust, waving her hand in front of her nose. This place smells terrible. You are polluting my market with this cheap oil. Mrs. Mary was a widow with 4 small children. She fell to her knees immediately, knowing exactly why Linda was there. Welcome, Madam Linda. Good morning to you, Mrs. Mary said, her voice shaking violently. Where is the tax money? Linda demanded. She tapped her expensive shoe on the dirt floor impatiently. Madam Linda, please listen to me, Mrs. Mary cried, tears falling down her cheeks. Your husband came here just yesterday. He brought 5 men with him. He told me to pay him money for the whole week. I gave him everything I had. I emptied my small box. I have nothing left for today. Please check the record book. I have paid for the week. Linda rolled her eyes and sighed loudly. She hated when the traders argued with her. Are you deaf? Or are you just stupid? Linda asked. Yesterday was yesterday. We are building a new gate at the back of the market today. The chairman declared a special development levy for all shop owners this morning. Every single person must pay again today. But madam, I do not have it. Mrs. Mary sobbed. She pointed to her big plastic bottles of red oil. I have not sold anything today. People say my oil is too expensive now because I had to raise the price to pay your husband's tax. Nobody is buying from me. Where will I get the money? That sounds like a personal problem, Linda said smoothly. She did not feel even one tiny drop of pity for the crying widow. If you do not have the money, then you do not have a shop. Boys, bring the big padlock. One of the heavy guards walked forward. He pulled a massive, heavy metal padlock from his pocket. He moved toward the wooden door of the shop. No, no, no. Mrs. Mary screamed. She grabbed the guard's leg, but he easily kicked her away. If you lock my shop, how will I feed my children? How will I pay their school fees? Please, Madam Linda, be a mother to me. Have a mother's heart. Linda leaned down close to Mrs. Mary's face. Do not ever compare yourself to me, Linda hissed softly. I am the chairman's wife. You are nothing but a dirty oil seller. Lock it up. The guard began to close the wooden door. Mrs. Mary realized Linda was truly going to shut down her only way of surviving. In a panic, Mrs. Mary crawled across the dirt floor to a hidden corner of her shop. She dug her hands into a small pile of sand and pulled out a tiny plastic bag. Inside was the money she was saving to buy medicine for her youngest baby who had a bad fever. Mrs. Mary opened the bag with shaking fingers and handed the money up to Linda. Her heart was breaking into a million pieces, but she had to save her shop. Linda smiled as she took the money. She did not care that the notes were covered in sand. She wiped them clean on a piece of cloth hanging in the shop and put them into her fancy bag. See? You people always lie, Linda said loudly, making sure the other traders could hear her. You always say you have no money, but you are hiding it in the dirt like rats. Next time, give it to me when I ask, or I will burn this shop to the ground. Linda turned and strutted out of the shop. Mrs. Mary stayed on the floor, crying silently into her hands. The entire market was filled with a deep, heavy sadness. The traders felt completely helpless against this cruel woman and her husband. Linda continued her walk of terror. She was heading straight toward the section of the market where the traditional medicine women sold their roots and leaves. This was the exact place where old Mama Sarah was standing, waiting for her arthritis medicine. At the medicine stall, Mama Chike had seen everything happen from far away. Her hands began to shake as she tried to quickly pack Mama Sarah's herbs. She knew Linda was coming, and she knew Linda would demand the daily tax. Mama Sarah, please take your money back, Mama Chike whispered quickly. She tried to push the crumpled notes back into Mama Sarah's hand. The chairman's wife is coming. She is angry today. You must take your money and hide it. If she sees it, she will take it. Please, let us do this later. But Mama Sarah did not understand. She was old, and her eyes could not see far away. Her ears could not hear the whispers of the market. She was just tired and in pain. She left her small pile of crumpled money sitting right there on the wooden table. My sister, do not worry, Mama Sarah said slowly in her weak voice. I am just an old woman buying a simple medicine. Nobody will bother me. Just tie the leaves for me so I can go home and rest my aching bones. Before Mama Chike could explain the terrible danger they were in, it was too late. A dark shadow fell across the wooden table. The smell of expensive perfume filled the air, mixing with the smell of the dry roots and dogonjaro leaves. Linda had arrived at their stall. She stood there in her crisp white blouse and designer jeans, looking down at the wooden table. Her eyes immediately locked onto the crumpled Naira notes that Mama Sarah had placed there. Linda's lips curled up into an evil smile. The two large men with wooden sticks stood right behind her, blocking the sun. The market around them went completely, deadly quiet. Everyone was watching, holding their breath, waiting to see what the cruel chairman's wife would do next. Linda stood completely still in front of the small medicine stall. The loud noise of the village market was completely gone. The only sound left was the dry wind blowing the green leaves on the wooden table. The air smelled suddenly sweet because of Linda's expensive perfume. It was a very strong smell that covered up the natural earthy scent of the roots and dogonjaro leaves. Mama Chike, the herb seller, stopped breathing. Her hands froze in the air while she was holding the string to tie Mama Sarah's medicine. She looked at Linda's bright white blouse and perfectly clean blue jeans. Then she looked at the two giant men in black shirts standing right behind Linda. The men had their thick wooden sticks resting on their shoulders, ready to strike anyone who made a wrong move. Good afternoon, Mama Chike, Linda said slowly. Her voice sounded like sweet honey, but her eyes were cold and mean. She tapped her long red fingernails on the edge of the wooden table. I can see you are very busy today. You have a customer. That means business is moving forward for you. Mama Chike quickly dropped the string and the leaves. She brought her hands together in front of her chest, like she was praying. Tears immediately filled her eyes because she knew what was coming next. Welcome, Madam Linda, Mama Chike said with a shaking voice. Good afternoon to you. Please, I am begging you in the name of God. This old woman is my very first customer of the whole day. The market has been very slow for me. Nobody has bought even one single root since morning. I am just trying to pack her medicine now. Linda tilted her head and smiled an evil smile. That is a very sad story, Mama Chike. But you know I do not care about your sad stories. My husband is the chairman of this market. He makes the rules to keep this place safe and clean. You know the rule. Every shop owner must pay the development levy every single day. Today, there is a special tax for the new gate. I have come to collect my money. Mama Chike fell to her knees behind her wooden table. Madam Linda, please look at me with eyes of mercy, Mama Chike cried. I do not have the money right now. If you look inside my bag, it is completely empty. Let me finish selling to this old woman. Give me just a few hours. I will walk around the market and borrow money from my friends to pay you. I swear it, madam. Linda rolled her eyes and sighed very loudly, showing she was bored and annoyed. I hate when you people beg, Linda said sharply. You always want free things. You open a shop on my husband's land, but you do not want to pay for the land. If you do not have the money, then you must pack up your leaves and leave the market forever. I will lock your shop today. While Mama Chike was crying on the ground, Linda looked down at the wooden table. Right there, resting next to the fresh green leaves, was the small pile of crumpled Naira notes. It was the money Mama Sarah had brought to buy her arthritis medicine. Linda's eyes lit up with greed. She pointed her long red finger at the dirty money. You are a very big liar, Mama Chike, Linda said loudly. You told me you have no money, but I see money sitting right here on your table. Mama Chike jumped up quickly in a panic. She waved her hands in the air.
No, Madam Linda.
That is not my money. I have not touched it. It belongs to this old mother. She just brought it out to pay for her medicine. Please do not look at that money. It is all she has. Linda did not listen. Before Mama Chike could reach out to cover the notes, Linda moved very fast. Her hand shot out and she snatched the crumpled money straight from the table. She held the money up in the air and squeezed it tightly in her fist. Money that is sitting on a table in my market belongs to the chairman, Linda declared proudly. Since you say you have no money to pay your tax, Mama Chike, I will take this as a down payment. You still owe me the rest before the sun goes down, or I will bring my padlock. Up until this moment, old Mama Sarah had stayed quiet. She was very confused. She did not understand market politics. She did not know about the chairman or the illegal taxes. She only knew that her knees were burning with pain, and the young woman in the white blouse had just taken the only thing that could make the pain stop. Mama Sarah slowly turned her body to face Linda. She leaned heavily on her thick wooden walking stick. Her legs were shaking from standing for too long. My daughter, Mama Sarah said. Her voice was very soft and weak, but it carried a deep sadness. Please, my daughter, that money belongs to me. I need it. Linda turned to look at Mama Sarah. She looked at the old woman from the top of her head down to her old rubber slippers. Linda's face twisted into a look of total disgust. She looked at Mama Sarah's faded brown dress with holes in it. She saw the dusty wrapper tied around her waist. To Linda, this old woman looked like a dirty beggar who did not belong near someone so rich and stylish. Who are you calling your daughter? Linda snapped back. She took a step backward as if Mama Sarah smelled bad. Do not ever use that word on me. Look at my clothes. Look at my shoes. Do I look like I could be the daughter of a dirty old woman wearing brown rags? Do not disrespect me. Mama Sarah did not get angry. She was too old and too tired for anger. She just wanted her medicine. She took one small, painful step toward Linda. She reached out her shaking, wrinkled hand, with fingers swollen from her bone sickness. I am sorry for offending you, madam, Mama Sarah pleaded gently. I am just an old mother looking for peace. Please look at my hands. Look at my knees. I have a terrible sickness in my bones. It bites me day and night. Sometimes I cannot even stand up to fetch water to drink. I saved those crumpled notes for 3 whole months. I stopped eating meat. I ate only plain rice so I could save enough to buy these green leaves from Mama Chike. That money is my life. Without those leaves, my pain will not let me sleep tonight. Please, have mercy and give me back my money." Linda looked at the old woman's shaking hand and then looked at the money in her own fist. For a second, the market was perfectly silent. Everyone watching hoped that Linda would feel a little bit of pity. Everyone hoped she would see that this old woman was suffering and return the money. Instead, Linda let out a short, mean laugh. "Why are you telling me your life story?" Linda asked coldly. "Do I look like a doctor to you? Do I look like a hospital? Your bone sickness has nothing to do with me." "But madam," Mama Chike cried out from behind the table, "she is an old woman. She cannot work. Please take my herbs. Take all the herbs on my table instead of her money. Just give her back the notes so she can buy food. I beg you." Linda turned her anger onto Mama Chike. "Shut your mouth," Linda shouted, pointing her finger at the herb seller. "Your herbs are useless to me. Can I buy a new car with dry leaves? Can I buy gold jewelry with dirty tree roots? No, my husband only accepts cash. If you care about this old woman so much, you should have paid your tax early this morning. This is your fault, not mine." Linda turned her attention back to Mama Sarah. The old woman's eyes were now filled with tears. The tears rolled slowly down her wrinkled cheeks and dropped into the dry dust. "Please, madam," Mama Sarah begged one more time. Her voice broke into a small sob. "I have nothing else in this world. If you take that money, you are taking my health. You are taking my life. Even a powerful person like you must have an old mother at home. Think of your own mother. Would you want someone to snatch her medicine money from her hands? Please, I am kneeling in my heart. Give a poor widow her mite." Linda's face became even harder. The mention of her own mother seemed to make her more angry. She took another step away from Mama Sarah, holding the money tightly against her crisp white blouse. "My mother does not walk in dirty markets," Linda said proudly. "My mother flies in airplanes and goes to the best hospitals in the big city. She does not buy dry leaves from the mud. You are poor because you are lazy. You are poor because you did not work hard when you were young. That is not my problem." Mama Sarah lowered her shaking hand. She felt a deep, heavy pain in her chest that was much worse than the pain in her knees. She could not understand how a human being could be so cruel. She could not understand how someone could look at a crying grandmother and feel absolutely nothing. "God is watching everything we do," Mama Sarah whispered softly. "Money is not everything. A good heart is better than gold." Linda scoffed loudly. She found the old woman's words funny. "Keep your prayers to yourself, old woman. Prayers do not pay the bills. Cash pays the bills." Linda opened her fancy designer bag. She slowly and carefully placed Mama Sarah's crumpled Naira notes inside the bag. She snapped the bag shut with a loud click. That sound felt like a heavy door closing on Mama Sarah's hope. "Now," Linda said, clapping her hands together to dust them off, "I have taken the down payment for this medicine stall. But this is not enough." Linda looked at Mama Chike, who was still weeping silently. "You have until the sun moves behind the big trees. Find the rest of the money, or I will come back and burn this wooden table to ashes. And as for you, old woman, I suggest you go home. This market is for people who have money to spend, not for beggars who want to pollute my air." Linda signaled to her two giant bodyguards. They stepped closer, their shadows falling over Mama Sarah. The guards looked down at the frail old woman, making sure she would not try to fight back. But Mama Sarah had no fight left in her. She just leaned on her wooden stick, tears falling freely now, staring at the space on the table where her money used to be. Linda turned around, ready to walk away and find the next traitor to torment. She felt very proud of herself. She had shown everyone who was the boss. She had proved that nobody, not even a sick old woman, could escape the power of the chairman and his wife. She adjusted her dark sunglasses, completely ignoring the broken heart she was leaving behind in the dust. Linda took one step away from the medicine stall, feeling very proud of herself. She had the old woman's money safely locked inside her expensive bag. She was ready to walk away and find someone else to bother. But Mama Sarah could not let her go. The pain in her knees was burning like a hot fire. She knew if she went home without the dogonjaro leaves, she would spend the whole night crying in pain. Desperation took over the old woman's mind. Mama Sarah took one shaky step forward. She reached out her weak, wrinkled hand. She did not want to cause any trouble. She just wanted to beg one more time. Her fingers gently brushed against the sleeve of Linda's crisp white blouse. It was a very soft touch, like a dry leaf falling on a shoulder. Linda stopped walking immediately. Her whole body became stiff. She slowly turned her head and looked down at her white sleeve. Then she looked at Mama Sarah's hand. The market was already quiet, but now it felt like even the wind had stopped blowing. Mama Chaik covered her mouth with both hands in pure terror. Everyone knew that touching the chairman's wife was the biggest mistake anyone could make. Linda's face twisted into a mask of pure rage. She looked at Mama Sarah as if the old woman was a poisonous snake that had just bitten her. "Did you just touch me?" Linda whispered. Her voice was low and dangerous. "Did you put your dirty, disease-filled hands on my body?" Mama Sarah quickly pulled her hand back, shaking with fear. "I am sorry, my daughter," she cried softly. "I did not mean to dirty your clothes. I just wanted to ask you to please look at my white hair. Respect my old age and give me my medicine money. I will sweep your house for you. I will wash your plates. Just give me the money to buy my leaves." "Shut your mouth," Linda screamed at the top of her lungs. Her voice was so loud it echoed across the wooden tables and the tin roofs. Linda raised her hands and pushed Mama Sarah right in the middle of her chest. She pushed her very hard. Mama Sarah was already too weak to stand properly. She did not have the strength to fight back. Her heavy wooden walking stick slipped from her hand and rolled away into the dirt. Mama Sarah fell backward. It seemed to happen in slow motion for everyone watching. The old woman hit the hard, dusty ground with a loud thud. Her bad knees struck the earth first, sending a blinding flash of pain all the way up to her chest. Then her back hit the dirt. A big cloud of brown dust rose up into the air around her. Mama Sarah let out a sharp cry of pain. She grabbed her swollen knees, curling her body into a ball on the hot ground. The pain was so terrible that she could not breathe for a few seconds. She just gasped for air, her eyes squeezed shut, tears rolling down her dusty face. The crowd of traders and buyers gasped in horror. A young woman selling tomatoes dropped her basket, spilling red tomatoes everywhere. An old man selling shoes took a step forward to help, but Linda's two giant bodyguards immediately raised their thick wooden sticks in the air. "If anyone moves, we will break your heads," one of the guards shouted, glaring at the crowd. The old shoe seller quickly stepped back, lowering his eyes to the ground. Nobody dared to challenge the guards. They were all too scared of what the chairman would do to their families. Linda stood over Mama Sarah, breathing heavily. Her eyes were wild with anger. She looked down at the old woman crying in the dirt and felt absolutely no pity. Instead, she felt insulted that this poor woman dared to ruin her perfect day. "You think you can touch me?" Linda yelled, pacing back and forth in front of the fallen woman. She pointed at her white blouse. "Do you know how much this shirt costs? The money I used to buy this shirt can feed your entire village for a whole year. And you dare to put your dirty, rough fingers on it." Mama Sarah tried to speak, but only a weak sob came out of her mouth. She tried to push herself up using her elbows, but her arms were shaking too much. The ground was hot from the afternoon sun, burning her through her thin brown dress. Linda turned to the large crowd that had gathered around them. She decided this was the perfect time to teach everyone a lesson they would never forget. She wanted to show them what happens when someone disrespects the chairman's wife. "Look at her," Linda shouted, pointing her long red finger at Mama Sarah. "Look at this piece of trash. Look at her in her filthy brown rags. She comes into my clean market looking like a beggar from the bush. She wants to pollute my air with her poverty. She thinks because she has gray hair, she can do whatever she wants. She thinks she can touch me." Mama Chaik could not hold back her tears anymore. She fell to her knees behind her wooden table and begged for the old woman. Madam Linda, please stop. She is bleeding. Her elbow is cut from the stones. Please let me help her up. She will leave the market right now. Just let her go. Linda spun around and glared at the herb seller. If you come out from behind that table, Mama Chike, my boys will break your legs. Do not test my patience today. Mama Chike stayed on the floor, weeping loudly, completely helpless. Linda turned her attention back to the wooden table. Sitting right on the edge of the table was a small bundle of fresh green dogonjaro leaves. It was the medicine Mama Chike had prepared for Mama Sarah before the money was stolen. Linda saw the leaves and smiled a cruel smile. She reached out and grabbed the bundle. Is this the magic medicine you want so badly? Linda asked, holding the green leaves up in the air for Mama Sarah to see. Mama Sarah opened her eyes. Through her tears and the dust, she saw her medicine in Linda's hand. She reached out a shaking hand from the dirt. Please, she whispered. My bones are on fire. Please give it to me. You want it? Linda asked, her voice dripping with poison. You can have it. Linda threw the bundle of green leaves hard onto the ground. The leaves landed right in a muddy puddle of dirty water near the edge of the stall. But Linda was not finished. She walked over to the puddle with her expensive shoes. She raised her foot and stomped hard on the leaves. She crushed the green leaves deep into the thick, brown mud, twisting her heel until the medicine was completely destroyed and covered in dirt. There is your medicine, Linda laughed. You can dig it out of the mud like the animal you are. Mama Sarah let out a heartbreaking wail. It was a sound of pure sadness. She had saved for 3 months. She had starved herself. She had walked through the hot sun with terrible pain, all for those leaves. And now they were gone, crushed into the dirty water just to make a rich woman feel powerful. The crowd watched in complete silence. Many of the women were crying quietly, wiping their eyes with the edges of their wrappers. They saw their own mothers in Mama Sarah. They felt the old woman's pain in their own hearts, but fear kept their feet glued to the ground. The chairman's power was like a heavy chain wrapped around their necks. Linda walked back to where Mama Sarah was lying. She stood tall, looking down like a wicked queen. Listen to me very carefully, old woman, Linda commanded in a loud, clear voice so the whole market could hear. My husband owns this land. We control who buys and who sells. We control who eats and who starves. You are nothing in this village. You are a ghost. You are just a shadow wearing dirty clothes. Mama Sarah continued to cry, holding her knees. She tried to wipe the dust out of her eyes, but her hands were covered in dirt, making it worse. I am giving you an order, Linda continued. You will not just lie there and cry like a baby. You will get up right now. You will get on your knees properly. You will put your hands together, and you will apologize to me in front of all these people. You will say, Madam Linda, I am a dirty beggar and I am sorry for touching your beautiful clothes. Say it. Mama Sarah shook her head slowly in the dirt. She was in too much physical pain to move into a kneeling position. Even if she could move, her throat was dry and full of dust. She could not speak loudly. I said, get up and kneel. Linda screamed, her face turning red with anger. If you do not get on your knees and beg me right now, I will call my husband. I will make him send his boys to your house tonight. We will drag you out of your bed and throw you into the forest. We will banish you from this village forever. You will die in the bush, and no one will ever find your bones. The threat was terrible. Banishment meant death for an old, sick woman. The crowd shifted nervously. Some people started whispering prayers, asking God to please send an angel to save the old mother. Are you deaf? Linda demanded, stepping closer to Mama Sarah's head. I am waiting. Beg me. Mama Sarah tried her best. She really did. She did not want to be thrown into the forest. She placed her shaking hands flat on the dusty ground. She pushed hard, trying to lift her heavy, painful body. She managed to lift her chest a little bit, but her swollen knees refused to bend. The pain shot through her legs like sharp knives. She collapsed back into the dust, breathing heavily, completely defeated by her own sick body. I cannot. Mama Sarah whispered into the dirt, her tears making small dark spots in the dry sand. My legs will not carry me. Linda did not believe her. She thought the old woman was just being stubborn. She thought Mama Sarah was refusing to respect her power. You are trying to make a fool out of me? Linda shouted. She looked at her two giant bodyguards. Boys, pick this trash up from the ground. Force her onto her knees. If her legs will not bend, break them until they do. The crowd gasped. A collective cry of horror swept through the market. This was too much. This was pure evil. But still, the fear of the chairman held them back. They closed their eyes, unable to watch what was about to happen. The two massive bodyguards smiled mean smiles. They cracked their knuckles and stepped forward. They reached down with their big, rough hands, grabbing Mama Sarah roughly by her thin arms. They started to pull her up from the dirt like she was a sack of empty bottles. Mama Sarah cried out in agony as her joints were pulled hard. Linda stood with her hands on her hips, a victorious smile spreading across her face. She was about to get exactly what she wanted. She was about to see this old woman forced into the mud to beg for mercy. She wanted everyone to see it. She wanted everyone to remember this day. The hot afternoon sun beat down on the village market, highlighting the cruelty happening in the dust. Mama Sarah hung between the two guards, her feet dragging on the floor, her spirit broken, waiting for the final humiliation to crush her completely. Just a few stalls away from the terrible scene, Musa the barrow pusher was sitting on the wooden edge of his empty wheelbarrow. He was holding a small plastic bag of cold water. He had just finished carrying a very heavy load, and he was taking a moment to rest. He wiped the thick sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. Suddenly, Musa realized that the market was too quiet. The normal sounds of people laughing, bargaining, and shouting were completely gone. The air felt heavy and wrong. Then he heard a sound that made his blood run cold. It was the loud, heartbreaking cry of an old woman in deep pain. It was the sound Mama Sarah made when her green medicine leaves were crushed into the dirty mud. Musa dropped his bag of water. The bag hit the ground and burst open, spilling the cold water into the dry dust. But Musa did not care. He stood up straight. His heart began to beat very fast in his chest. He turned his head toward the section of the market where the medicine women sold their roots and leaves. He left his wheelbarrow behind and started walking fast. He pushed his way through the large crowd of people standing completely still. The traders and buyers were frozen like statues. Musa had to gently move people aside with his strong hands. When he finally reached the front of the crowd, he stopped. His eyes widened at what he saw. Right in the middle of the open dirt path, two giant men in black shirts were holding an old woman suspended in the air. They were pulling her thin arms cruelly, trying to force her swollen knees to bend into the hot dust. The old woman was crying openly, her face covered in dirt and tears. Standing in front of them was a young woman in a very bright white blouse and designer jeans. She was smiling, looking very happy to see the old woman suffer. Something inside Musa snapped. A hot fire of anger rushed through his entire body. He did not care about the young woman's clean clothes. He did not care about the two giant men holding thick wooden sticks. He did not even think about the dangerous market chairman. All Musa saw was a helpless mother being treated worse than a wild animal. "Let her go," Musa shouted. His voice was incredibly loud and deep. It rumbled through the quiet market like a clap of thunder. The two giant bodyguards jumped in surprise. They looked up to see who dared to shout at them. Linda also turned her head quickly. The smile vanished from her face. She looked at Musa standing there in his dirty, sleeveless shirt and his backward cap. She could not believe that a common barrow pusher was talking to her guards. Musa did not wait for them to answer. He stepped out from the crowd and walked directly toward them. His steps were heavy and determined. The muscles on his arms and chest tightened as he prepared himself for a fight. "Are you deaf?" Linda screamed at Musa. She pointed her long red finger right at his face. "Get back into the crowd before my boys beat you until you cannot walk. You have no business here." Musa ignored her completely. He kept his eyes locked on the two men holding Mama Sarah. When he was close enough, Musa reached out with lightning speed. His large, rough hands clamped down on the thick wrists of the bodyguards. The guards tried to pull their arms away, but they could not. Musa was a barrow pusher. He spent every single day lifting bags of cement, massive piles of yams, and heavy iron rods. His strength was built from years of backbreaking work in the hot sun. The guards were just bullies who beat up weak people. They were no match for Musa's real strength. Musa squeezed their wrists very hard. The two big men let out gasps of pain and immediately dropped Mama Sarah's arms. Before Mama Sarah could fall back into the hard dirt, Musa moved fast. He caught the old woman gently against his side. He supported all of her weight with one of his strong arms. Then, he used his own body to push the two giant guards backward. He shoved them with such force that they stumbled and nearly fell over their own feet. Musa quickly stepped right in front of Mama Sarah. He planted his feet firmly into the ground. He spread his thick arms out wide. He created an impenetrable wall of human muscle between the cruel people and the frail old woman. The market crowd gasped again. This time it was a gasp of shock and hope. No one had ever dared to stand up to Linda and her guards before. The vegetable sellers and the fish women held their hands over their hearts, praying silently for the brave young man. Linda was shaking with pure rage. Her crisp white blouse moved up and down as she breathed heavily. Her eyes looked like they were going to pop out of her head. "You stupid boy!" Linda shouted, her voice breaking with anger. "Do you want to die today? Do you know whose wife I am? My husband owns this ground you are standing on. Move out of the way right now." Musa did not move a single inch. He kept his broad back facing Linda for a moment. He wanted to make sure Mama Sarah was safe first. He gently held the old woman by her shoulders and helped her stand up straight. "Are you badly hurt, Mama?" Musa asked in a very soft, caring voice. He used his big hands to gently brush the brown dust off her faded dress. Mama Sarah looked up at Musa. Her eyes were still full of tears. She saw the kindness in his face, but she was terrified for him. Her hands shook as she grabbed his dirty, sleeveless shirt. "My son, please," Mama Sarah cried softly. "Run away from here. You do not know these people. They are wicked people. They will kill you because of me. I am just an old woman. My life is almost over. Your life is just starting. Please, leave me and run." Musa smiled a gentle smile. He reached down and wiped the tears from her wrinkled cheeks with his thumb. "I cannot do that, Mama," Musa said calmly. "A real man does not run away when a mother is crying. A real man does not watch wicked people hurt the weak. Do not worry about me. I am strong enough to take their blows. You are safe now behind me." Musa looked around the dusty ground. He spotted Mama Sarah's heavy wooden walking stick lying a few feet away. He quickly stepped over, picked it up, and placed it firmly into her shaking hand. He wrapped her fingers around the wood to help her find her balance. "Hold on to this, Mama," Musa told her. "Stand tall. Do not let anyone force you into the dirt again." Behind Musa, Linda was losing her mind. She could not stand being ignored. She hated that this poor boy was treating the old woman with so much respect, while treating her like she did not matter at all. "Did you hear what I said?" Linda screamed, stepping closer to Musa's back. "Turn around and look at me when I am talking to you. I will make sure you never work in this village again. I will make you rot in a dark jail cell." Musa made sure Mama Sarah was steady on her feet. Then he slowly turned around to face Linda. He stood tall, pushing his broad chest forward. He lifted his hand and casually adjusted the backward cap on his head. He looked Linda directly in the eye without a single drop of fear. "I heard everything you said, sister," Musa replied. His voice was deep, steady, and very loud. He wanted everyone in the market to hear him. "You have a very loud voice for someone with such a small heart." Linda gasped loudly. She clutched her gold necklace. "How dare you speak to me like that? You are nothing. You are a dirty boy who pushes wood for pennies. You are lower than the dirt on my shoes." "Maybe I am dirty," Musa said calmly, looking down at his sweat-stained shirt. Maybe I do not have money to buy expensive white shirts like yours, but my hands only carry honest work. My hands do not steal medicine money from sick grandmothers. My hands do not push frail women into the mud. You are wearing clean clothes, but your spirit is covered in terrible filth. The crowd erupted into loud murmurs. Hearing someone finally speak the truth to the chairman's wife was like drinking cold water on a very hot day. The traders felt a rush of pride for the brave barrow pusher. Linda's face turned bright red. She pointed at Mama Sarah, who was hiding behind Moose's large frame. That old hag refused to pay the market tax. Linda yelled, trying to justify her cruelty to the crowd. She is a thief. She assaulted me. She put her dirty hands on my expensive clothes. She must kneel and apologize to me right now, or my boys will break both of her legs, and they will break yours too. Musa shook his head slowly. He looked at Linda with pity, which made Linda even more furious. She is an elder, Musa explained slowly, as if he was talking to a small, stubborn child. In our culture, we respect our elders. We do not throw their medicine in the mud. We do not force them to kneel in the dust. Even if she made a mistake, she is old enough to be your mother. You cannot treat a mother like a stray dog. She is not my mother, Linda screeched, stamping her expensive shoe on the ground. My mother is rich. My mother is important. That woman is a nobody. She is a beggar, and you are a nobody for defending her. Do you even know who she is?
No, Musa answered honestly.
He kept his arms spread wide, acting as a human shield. I do not know her name. I do not know where she lives. I do not know what village she comes from. But I know she is a human being. I know she carried a child in her belly. I know she has suffered in this life. That is all I need to know to stand right here and protect her from you. Linda turned to her two giant bodyguards. They were rubbing their sore wrists, looking a little bit nervous because they knew how strong Musa really was. What are you waiting for? Linda demanded, slapping one of the guards hard on his shoulder. Are you afraid of a barrow boy? I pay you to protect me and punish my enemies. Beat him until he begs for his life. Use your sticks. The two guards looked at each other. They tightened their grip on their thick wooden sticks. They stepped forward, raising the sticks high into the air. They were ready to bring the heavy wood crashing down onto Musa's head. The women in the market screamed. Mama Chaik covered her eyes behind the wooden table. Mama Sarah grabbed Musa's shirt again, begging him to run away. But Musa did not run. He did not even flinch. He stood perfectly still, like a giant tree planted deeply into the earth. He raised his bare, muscular arms, ready to take the brutal blows to protect the old woman hiding behind him. He looked straight into the eyes of the guards coming toward him. If you strike me, you better make sure I do not get back up, Musa warned them, his voice low and dangerous. Because if I get back up, I will show you what real strength looks like. And sister, Musa said, looking past the guards to Linda. If a single piece of wood touches this old mother, you will have to answer to God today. Linda laughed a wicked, evil laugh. She did not care about God or justice. She only cared about her pride. God does not visit this market, barrow boy, Linda sneered, waving her hand to give the final order. My husband is the only God here. Boys, break his head open. Teach him the price of playing the hero. The guards stepped into striking distance. They swung their thick wooden sticks back, preparing to unleash all their violent anger on the brave barrow pusher. The entire market held its breath, waiting for the terrible sound of wood hitting bone. The sun beat down, and time seemed to stop completely. Musa simply locked his jaw, keeping his body positioned perfectly to make sure Mama Sarah would not feel a single scratch. He was ready to pay the ultimate price for doing the right thing. The thick wooden sticks were high up in the air. The heavy wood was about to crash down heavily on Musa's head. The two giant bodyguards had mean smiles on their faces, ready to hurt the brave barrow pusher. The women in the market had already closed their eyes. They did not want to see the blood. They did not want to see the kind young man fall into the dirt. But right before the sticks could come down, Linda suddenly raised her hand. Wait, Linda commanded sharply. The two big men stopped immediately. They froze like statues, keeping their heavy sticks raised in the air. They looked at Linda, waiting for her next order. Linda took a slow step forward. Her expensive shoes crunched on the dry sand. She did not want this to be over so fast. She wanted Musa to beg. She wanted to see real fear in his eyes. She wanted to break his spirit before her guards broke his bones. She wanted to prove to the entire market that nobody could ever disrespect her and get away with it. "Do not knock him out yet," Linda said to her guards. Her voice was very cold and sounded like a snake hissing in the grass. "If you knock him out now, he will not feel the true pain. He needs to know exactly what he has done. He needs to understand that he just threw his entire life away for a dirty old beggar." Linda walked right up to Musa. She stood so close that Musa could smell the strong, sweet perfume coming from her crisp white blouse. Musa did not step back. He did not blink. He just stared down at her. He kept his broad chest pushed out, making sure his body was completely covering Mama Sarah behind him. "Do you know who you are dealing with?" Linda asked Musa, tilting her head to the side. She pointed a long red fingernail at his face. "You are just a boy who pushes a wooden wheelbarrow. You carry yams and bags of rice for pennies. You go home every night smelling like sweat and dirt. You are nothing. But me? I am the wife of the market chairman." Linda turned around and pointed her hand at all the different shops in the market. She pointed at the people selling fish, the people selling clothes, and the people selling vegetables. "Look around you, stupid boy," Linda shouted, making sure everyone could hear her loud voice. "My husband owns this entire market. He controls everything. Every single grain of sand you are standing on belongs to him. He decides who is allowed to sell food to feed their children. He decides who goes hungry. He is a king in this village, and I am his queen. We have more money than you can ever count in 10 lifetimes." Musa listened to her boast. His face remained completely calm. He did not look scared. He just looked at Linda as if she was a small child throwing a temper tantrum. This calmness made Linda even more angry. She wanted him to shake with fear. She stepped closer again and lowered her voice to a dangerous whisper. "If you do not move out of the way right now," Linda threatened, "my guards will not just beat you. After they break your arms, I will make one phone call. Do you know who I will call? I will call the chief of police. He eats dinner at my house every Sunday. My husband pays him a lot of money. The police will come here and drag your broken body away. They will not take you to a hospital. They will throw you into the darkest jail cell in this town." Linda smiled a very wicked smile. She was enjoying painting this terrible picture for him. "You will rot in that dark room," Linda continued. "There are big rats in that jail. They will bite your toes in the night. You will drink dirty water. You will never see the sun again. Nobody will come to visit you because nobody cares about a poor barrow pusher. Your life will be completely finished today. And for what? For an old hag who cannot even stand on her own 2 feet." Behind Musa, Mama Sarah was shaking like a leaf in the wind. She heard every single word Linda said. The old woman's heart was breaking. She knew Linda was telling the truth. The chairman was a very powerful and wicked man. He could do terrible things to this kind boy. Mama Sarah gently pulled on the back of Musa's dusty sleeveless shirt. "My son, please," Mama Sarah whispered, her voice full of tears and deep sadness. "Listen to the woman. She is speaking the truth. They will destroy your life. I am an old woman. My bones are already sick. My time on this earth is almost finished. I have nothing left to give. But you are young. You have a long life ahead of you. You will marry a good wife. You will have beautiful children. Do not throw all of that away for me." Musa did not turn around, but he reached his big hand backward and gently held Mama Sarah's shaking fingers. He squeezed her hand to comfort her. "Mama, do not cry," Musa said in his deep, steady voice. "I will not let them touch you. I told you before, you are safe behind me. But they will put you in the dark jail." Mama Sarah cried, fresh tears spilling down her dirty cheeks. "I cannot let you suffer because of my simple medicine. Let me step forward. Let them beat me. Let them take me to the forest. I am ready. Just save yourself, my good son. Musa shook his head slowly. If my own mother was standing where you are right now, I would want a strong young man to stand in front of her. Cannot walk away. If I walk away today, I will never be able to look in a mirror again. My conscience will punish me more than any dark jail cell ever could. Musa let go of Mama Sarah's hand and placed his full attention back on Linda. Linda was waiting for him to drop to his knees and beg. She was waiting for him to step aside and offer the old woman to the guards. Instead, Musa stood even taller. He looked down at Linda with eyes full of pity. He did not look at her with fear, and he did not look at her with anger. He looked at her like he felt very sorry for her. "Are you finished speaking, sister?" Musa asked her loudly. Linda was shocked. Her mouth opened a little bit in surprise. She had just threatened him with jail and a terrible beating, and he was asking her if she was finished speaking. "What did you say to me?" Linda asked, her voice shaking with disbelief. Musa's voice boomed across the crowd. It was firm, steady, and clear. He spoke with the confidence of a man who knew he was doing the right thing. "You talk a lot about your husband's money," Musa said loudly so the whole market could hear his words. "You boast about the cars you drive and the expensive white clothes you wear. You think because you can buy the police you are untouchable. You think your power will last forever." Musa pointed his thick, calloused finger directly at Linda's chest. "But you are making a very big mistake," Musa declared. "Your wealth is a loan from God, sister. It is not a permanent possession. God gives people money to see how they will treat those who have nothing. God gave you this power as a test, and you are failing the test miserably." The crowd of traders gasped loudly. People put their hands over their mouths. Some people stepped back in fear, while others leaned forward to hear more. No one in the history of the village had ever spoken to the chairman's wife this way. It was brave and it was the absolute truth. "You walk around this market feeling proud," Musa continued, his voice ringing out like a church bell. "You think you are better than this old mother because she wears faded brown clothes. You think you are better than me because my shirt is dirty with honest sweat. You wear clean clothes, yes. Your white shirt has no stains on it. But look inside yourself, sister. Look at your own heart. You wear clean clothes, but you have a very dirty spirit." The gasp from the crowd this time was even louder. The words hit the air with heavy weight. A woman selling tomatoes at the back of the crowd could not help herself. She clapped her hands together once and said, "He is telling the absolute truth." Another man selling shoes nodded his head up and down. Whispers swept through the market like a fast wind. "He called her spirit dirty," one woman whispered to her friend. "God bless this barrow boy," an old man muttered under his breath. "He is speaking for all of us today." Linda heard the gasps. She heard the small clap. She saw the traders nodding their heads. Her face turned from red to a dark, dangerous purple. She was being humiliated. This lowly, poor boy was turning the entire market against her. He was making her look like a wicked monster in front of everyone. Her pride was completely shattered. Linda's hands curled into tight fists. She was shaking uncontrollably from head to toe. She could not find the words to argue with him because she knew, deep down, that he was right. But her arrogance would never allow her to admit it. Instead of feeling sorry, she only felt pure, boiling hatred. "You dare to lecture me?" Linda screamed. Her voice cracked and sounded wild. She pointed both of her hands at Musa. "You dare to call me dirty? I will show you what dirty looks like. I will make you eat the mud from the ground. I will make you drink your own blood." Linda completely lost control of her mind. She forgot about acting like a classy, rich woman. She acted like a wild beast. She spun around to face her two giant guards. "What are you waiting for, you useless idiots?" Linda screamed at the top of her lungs, spitting as she yelled. "I said beat him. Do not just knock him out. Break his legs. Break his arms. Break his ribs. If he is still breathing when you are done, I will have my husband fire both of you. Kill him right now." The two giant bodyguards gripped their thick wooden sticks tightly. They saw the crazy anger in their boss's eyes, and they knew they had to follow her orders completely. They stepped forward, closing the distance between them and Musa. Musa knew the talking was over. There was no more reasoning with this wicked woman. The time for words had passed. Now it was time for action. Now it was time for pain. Musa did not step backward. He did not look for a way to run. He did exactly what a protector does. He widened his stance, planting his bare feet deeply into the hot brown dust. He wanted to make sure nobody could push him over. He reached back with one hand and gently pushed Mama Sarah further behind him, making sure she was completely out of the way of the swinging sticks. Then Musa brought his thick, muscular arms up. He raised his fists high in front of his face. He kept his elbows tucked in tight to protect his ribs. He locked his jaw, his teeth grinding together. His eyes narrowed as he focused entirely on the two giant men rushing toward him. He knew the sticks were going to hurt. He knew he might end up with broken bones. He knew he might end up in the dark jail cell Linda promised him. But as he looked at the angry men coming to strike him, Musa felt no regret. He felt a deep peace in his heart. He was standing on the side of the truth. He was defending an innocent mother. He was ready to take the brutal beating. The first bodyguard swung his heavy wooden stick backward, aiming directly for the side of Musa's head. The second bodyguard raised his stick high, aiming to smash Musa's shoulder. The crowd screamed. Mama Sarah closed her eyes tightly and cried out to God to save the brave young man. Musa braced his strong muscles, taking a deep breath of the dusty air, fully prepared to take the terrible blow and protect the stranger he called mother. The heavy wooden sticks were high up in the hot air. Musa kept his eyes wide open. He watched the thick wood swinging down toward his head. Felt like time was moving very, very slowly. He could hear the dry wind whistling around the heavy sticks. He could see the anger in the bodyguard's eyes. He could see the sweat dripping down the big man's face. Musa knew this was going to hurt more than anything he had ever felt in his entire life. He knew the wood might break his skin and crack his bones, but he did not move a single inch. He planted his bare feet even deeper into the hot brown dirt. He pushed his broad chest out, ready to take the terrible blow. Behind his back, Mama Sarah was crying loudly. Her small hands were holding onto the back of his dusty, sleeveless shirt. She was holding on with all the little strength she had left in her sick body. "Close your eyes, Mama," Musa shouted over his shoulder. His voice was very loud, but it was also filled with deep care. "Do not look at them. Just hold onto my shirt and close your eyes tight. I will not let them touch you." Mama Sarah squeezed her eyes shut. The tears rolled fast down her wrinkled cheeks, washing away the brown dust on her face. She buried her head into Musa's broad back. She was praying to God with all her heart. She was asking God to please send an angel to save this kind, brave boy. Musa tightened the thick muscles in his neck. He raised his arms higher to protect his face. He locked his teeth together. He was completely ready for the dark, heavy pain. But the pain did not come. The heavy wooden stick stopped just 1 inch away from Musa's ear. The second bodyguard also stopped his stick right in the middle of the air. The sticks just hovered there, casting a dark shadow over Musa's face. Musa opened his eyes a little wider. He was very confused. Why did they stop? He looked closely at the first guard. The big man was not looking at Musa anymore. His angry eyes were looking far away, past Musa's shoulder. He was staring toward the main entrance of the village market. The second guard was doing the exact same thing. Their mean, wicked smiles were completely gone. Now they looked confused. They looked like they were seeing a ghost. Linda noticed this too. She stomped her expensive shoe hard on the dusty ground. "What are you doing?" Linda screamed at her guards. Her voice was so shrill it hurt the ears of everyone standing nearby. "Why did you stop? Did I tell you to stop? I gave you a direct order. Hit him. Break his head right now. Show him what happens when he disrespects the chairman's wife." But the guards did not swing their sticks. They did not even look at Linda. One of the guards slowly lowered his thick piece of wood. He raised a shaking finger and pointed toward the front gate of the market. "Madam Linda," the guard said. His voice was low, and it sounded a little bit scared. "Look over there. Look at the main gate. Someone is coming. Someone is coming very, very fast." Musa did not turn his head to look. He could not take his eyes off the two dangerous men in front of him. If he turned around, they could hit him from behind. But he did not need to see with his eyes because he could hear the new noise. It started as a small murmur at the front of the market. Then, it grew into a massive roar. It was a completely different kind of noise. It was not the sound of women bargaining for fresh fish. It was not the sound of men calling out prices for shoes. It was the sound of pure, absolute panic. People were screaming. Musa could hear heavy wooden tables crashing to the hard ground. He could hear plastic bowls breaking. Baskets of red tomatoes and white onions were spilling everywhere into the dust. Everyone was running wildly out of the way. It sounded like a wild lion had just broken loose inside the market. Linda squinted her eyes against the bright afternoon sun to see what was happening. The crowd at the front was parting like the Red Sea. Through the thick cloud of brown dust that was rising into the air, two men were running. They were not just jogging. They were sprinting like hungry cheetahs chasing their dinner. These men looked completely different from anyone who lived in the village. They did not wear dusty wrappers or old, torn shirts. They were wearing very sharp, clean black suits. The hot sun bounced off their bright white undershirts and shiny black ties. The jackets of their suits flapped violently behind them as they ran. They wore dark black sunglasses that covered their eyes completely, making them look like dangerous machines. Their shoes were black and highly polished, kicking up thick dirt as they moved with terrifying speed and perfect precision. They did not shout for people to move. They did not push the traders. They just moved perfectly together, dodging the falling tables, weaving through the chaos, and flying straight toward the medicine stall where Linda was standing. Linda saw the sharp black suits, and a huge, proud smile spread across her face. Her anger vanished, replaced by pure joy. She started to laugh. It was a loud, mean laugh that echoed in the quiet space around her. "Do you see that, Barrow boy?" Linda shouted loudly. She pointed her long red fingernail at the two men running toward them. "Do you see what happens when you mess with me? Do you see what happens when you challenge the chairman's wife?" Musa kept his fists raised in front of his face. He was very confused. He did not know who these men in the black suits were. He had never seen anyone dress like that in this dusty village market. Linda walked a little closer to Musa. She felt incredibly brave now. She felt like she had already won the fight. "Those are my husband's special men." Linda bragged loudly so the whole crowd of traders could hear her. "My husband is a very powerful man. He must have heard that a dirty barrow pusher was causing trouble for me today. He must have seen that you were trying to play the hero. So, he sent his elite enforcers from the big city office to deal with you." Linda laughed again, clapping her hands together. "These are not just normal guards, Musa. These are the big bosses. They wear black suits because they do the dirtiest work. When my husband wants a problem to disappear forever, he sends the men in suits." The crowd of traders gasped in horror. A cold wave of fear washed over everyone watching. Mama Chaik, the herb seller hiding behind her wooden table, started to weep uncontrollably. The traders looked at the men in the sharp suits running closer and closer. They started to cry for Musa. If these men truly were the chairman's special elite enforcers, then Musa was definitely going to die today. Everyone in the village had heard scary rumors about the men from the big city. The rumors said the chairman only sent the men in black suits when he wanted to destroy someone's life completely. "You should have begged when you had the chance, Barrow boy," Linda yelled. Her voice was full of wicked delight. "You should have dropped to your knees and kissed my shoes. Now it is completely too late. The enforcers are here. They are going to break every single bone in your strong body. They will beat you until you cannot remember your own name. And when they are done with you, they will drag this old hag into the dark forest and leave her for the wild dogs." Musa felt a cold drop of sweat run all the way down his spine. Two regular bodyguards with wooden sticks were already very hard to fight. Two elite enforcers in suits, moving with such terrifying speed, would be impossible to defeat. He was just one man. He looked down at his bare, muscular arms. He looked at the dusty ground beneath his feet. He knew he could not win this fight. They would overpower him. They would beat him down. But as Musa listened to Linda's wicked words, he also knew he could not give up. He could not step aside. Musa reached his hand back again. He gently took hold of Mama Sarah's arm. He pulled her even further behind his broad back, hiding her completely from the front view. "Stay exactly behind my back, Mama," Musa whispered. His voice was no longer loud. It was very quiet, very serious, and very final. "No matter what happens next, do not come out. If they knock me down to the ground, you must turn around and run. Do you hear me? Run as fast as your sick legs can carry you." Mama Sarah was shaking violently. Her tears were soaking into the fabric of his dusty shirt. "My son, no," Mama Sarah cried. Her voice was breaking into small pieces. "They are going to kill you. Look at how fast they are running. They are monsters. Please, I am begging you in the name of God. Let me step forward. Let me surrender to them. They just want me to kneel in the mud. I will do it. I will kneel for them. I will give them my medicine. Just save yourself, my good son. You have done enough." "I said no, Mama," Musa said firmly. He did not turn around to look at her. He kept his eyes locked on the approaching men. "I will never let them take you. Just hold on tight to my shirt and close your eyes. Let me handle the pain." Linda was practically dancing with joy in her expensive white blouse. She loved seeing the fear in the crowd. She loved the power she held in her hands. "Look at you, trying to act tough," Linda mocked Musa. "You think your big muscles can save you now? My husband's men will chop you down like a dry tree. You are going to regret the day you were born." The two men in the black suits were getting closer and closer. They were moving so fast that their black suit jackets were flying behind them like the dark wings of a big bird. The sun reflected off their dark sunglasses, hiding their eyes so no one could see what they were thinking. They did not look tired at all. They were not panting for air. They were not sweating like normal men. They just kept their hidden eyes locked directly on the spot where Musa, Linda, and the guards were standing. They ran past the woman selling red palm oil. They ran past the man selling shoes. The traders scrambled over each other, diving into the dirt to get out of their way. The path to the medicine stall was completely clear now. There was nothing stopping the men in suits from reaching Musa. Musa took a very deep breath of the hot, dusty air. Felt like the air was burning his lungs, but he needed the oxygen. He locked his jaw so tightly that his teeth squeaked. He brought his fists up even higher, protecting his face and his neck. He spread his feet wider apart, digging his toes into the warm sand. The tension in the air was so thick you could cut it with a knife. The whole market held its breath. Nobody made a sound. Even the animals in the cages seemed to stop making noise. The men in the black suits were only 10 steps away. Linda crossed her arms over her chest, smiling her wicked, evil smile, waiting to see the blood. The men were 5 steps away. Musa braced every single muscle in his body for the ultimate clash. He was ready to meet the new, terrifying enemy. He was ready to fight until he could not lift his arms anymore. He squeezed his eyes narrow, waiting for the massive impact that was about to hit him like a moving train. The two men in sharp black suits did not slow down. They moved like shadows across the dusty ground, their polished shoes barely touching the earth. Musa stood frozen, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He braced himself, expecting the first man to smash a fist into his face or trip him into the dirt. He felt Mama Sarah's cold, trembling hands clutching his shirt, her head buried deep against his back to hide from the coming violence. Linda let out a high-pitched, excited squeal. She was leaning forward, her eyes wide with greedy anticipation. "Yes, get him. Tear him apart," she screamed, her voice vibrating with malice. "Break his hands so he can never push a barrow again. Make sure he remembers this day for the rest of his pathetic life." The guards with the wooden sticks stepped back, grinning widely, ready to watch the destruction. They shifted their weight, eager to join the beating as soon as the elite men in suits started the fight. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. The first man in the black suit reached the spot where Musa stood. But instead of throwing a punch, he did something that made the entire market go silent. He did not strike Musa. He did not even look at Musa. The man pivoted on his heel with incredible speed, turning his back to the barrow pusher. In one fluid motion, he snatched the thick wooden stick right out of the hand of the nearest guard. The guard was so shocked he didn't even have time to yell. Before the man could react, the suit-wearing stranger slammed the heavy wood against the guard's knee. A sickening crack echoed through the market, and the guard collapsed into the dirt with a howl of pure agony. Linda's jaw dropped. She stopped laughing instantly. Her face went from bright red to pale white. What are you doing?" she shrieked, pointing her shaking finger at the man in the suit. "That is my guard. You are supposed to be hurting the barrow boy. Why are you attacking my people?" The second man in the black suit didn't say a single word. He moved toward the second guard, who was now shivering with fear. He delivered a swift, powerful kick to the man's chest, sending him flying backward into a stack of empty crates. The wooden crates exploded into splinters as the guard hit them, groaning as he struggled to find his breath. The two men in suits stood side by side, their breathing calm, their ties perfectly straight. They turned toward Linda, who was now backing away, her heels catching on a stone. Musa was so stunned he lowered his fists, his mouth hanging open. He looked at the two men, then back at the fallen guards, completely confused. "Who are you?" Musa asked, his voice rough with disbelief. "Why are you helping me? I don't know you." The two men did not answer Musa. They did not even glance at him. Their movements were cold, fast, and professional. They walked past Musa and the barrow, heading directly toward the spot where Mama Sarah was cowering. Linda, realizing something had gone terribly wrong, began to shout at them with a desperate, frantic energy. "Listen to me. I am the chairman's wife. My husband pays for this market. You have made a big mistake. If you touch me, my husband will hunt you down. He will bury you in the ground." She waved her arms, trying to look intimidating, but her voice was cracking. She looked at her fallen guards, then at the silent, unmoving men in suits, and felt a cold shiver crawl up her spine. The men ignored her insults just as they had ignored the guards' pleas. When they reached Mama Sarah, they did not look at her like she was a dirty beggar. They did not look at her with disgust. To the complete shock of everyone in the market, both men, who had just moved like warriors, lowered their bodies and dropped to their knees in the thick brown dust. One of the men reached out with his white-gloved hand and touched Mama Sarah's arm very gently, as if she were made of glass. "Mama," he said, his voice deep and respectful. "We are so sorry we arrived late. Please, are you hurt? Did that woman touch you?" Mama Sarah looked up, her eyes wide and wet with confusion. She clutched her wooden stick to her chest, trembling. Who are you?" she stammered, her voice thin. "Are you sent by the chairman? Are you here to take me to the forest?" The second man shook his head, his face showing genuine sadness. He pulled a clean, white silk handkerchief from his suit pocket and reached forward. With hands as soft as a feather, he wiped the thick, brown dust off Mama Sarah's wrinkled cheeks and forehead. "We are not with them, Mama. We have been looking for you for hours. We are here to take you home. You are safe now. No one will ever hurt you again." Linda, watching from a few feet away, felt her legs go weak. She looked at the two men, the way they knelt, the way they looked at the old woman with such deep care, and she felt a sudden, sharp pain of dread in her stomach. She looked at the barrow pusher, Musa, who was staring at the scene with his hands on his hips, completely baffled. "You!" Linda shouted, pointing at the men. "Why are you bowing to her? She is nobody. She is a poor, sick old woman with no money. She has no power. Who do you work for?" One of the men in the suit stood up slowly. He did not look at Linda with anger. He looked at her with pure, cold indifference, as if she were just a piece of trash on the floor. He pulled a small, black radio from his pocket and pressed a button. "The chairman's wife has been restrained," the man said into the radio, his voice sharp and clear. "She has assaulted an elder and caused a disturbance. Tell the boss we have arrived. We are securing the area now." "Assaulted?" Linda screamed, her face twitching. "I did not assault her. She touched my clothes. She is a thief. You cannot do this. Do you know who I am?" The man turned his head to look at Linda for the first time. The dark sunglasses hid his eyes, but his expression was like stone. "We know exactly who you are," he said. His voice was very quiet, but it seemed to echo across the entire market, making every trader lean in to listen. "You have spent your morning abusing people who cannot fight back. You have spent your time making mothers cry for their medicine. You think you own this land because you collect taxes. You are very wrong." Mama Sarah, still sitting on the ground, looked at Musa. "Musa," she whispered, her voice still shaking. "Who are they? Why are they being so kind to an old woman like me?" Musa didn't know how to answer. He walked closer, his eyes fixed on the men in black. "I don't know, Mama," he replied, "but they don't seem like bad people. They seem like they are here to finish what I started." The other man in the suit reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, laminated card. He held it up so the entire market could see it. It wasn't a police badge and it wasn't a market tax card. It was something much more important. "This market does not belong to your husband," the man said, looking at Linda. "This land was purchased 2 years ago by a private buyer. Your husband has been allowed to act as a manager for the convenience of the local traders. He was given a job, not a throne. He was told to treat the people with respect. Instead, he chose to act like a monster. And today, the owner of this land has decided that he has seen enough." Linda's breath caught in her throat. Her face turned a sickly gray color. That is not possible," she stammered, backing away. "My husband has the papers. He has the stamps. He is the chairman." The man in the suit took a step toward her. He didn't raise his voice, but Linda flinched as if he had hit her. "The papers your husband has are fakes," he said calmly. "The real owner has been watching everything. He has been watching you take money from widows. He has been watching you destroy the medicine of the sick. And now, he has sent us to put an end to it." The market was so quiet you could hear the distant sound of a goat bleating at the edge of the stalls. Every trader, every buyer, and every barrow pusher was staring at the men in suits. They were witnessing the fall of the most feared person in their village. Linda looked around, hoping to see her guards coming to save her, but they were still on the ground, groaning in pain. She looked at the crowd, but the traders were looking at her with cold, hard eyes filled with anger. She had no friends left. She had no power. She was just a girl in a white blouse standing alone in the dust. She turned back to the men in suits, her voice trembling. Who is your boss?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The men didn't answer. They turned their backs to her as if she was no longer important. They reached out their hands again to help Mama Sarah stand up. Musa stepped forward, his heart racing. He wanted to help, but he didn't know if he should. The first man looked at Musa and gave him a short, respectful nod. "You did a good thing today, young man," the man said. "You protected someone who could not protect themselves. That is a rare thing in this place. Stand back now. The owner is coming." Musa felt a jolt of electricity go through his body. The owner? The man who owned all this land? The man who had been watching all along? He stepped back, his mouth dry, his muscles still tight. He looked at Mama Sarah, who was now standing on her own, leaning on her stick, her eyes fixed on the entrance of the market. "Musa," Mama Sarah said, her voice full of a strange, quiet peace, "I think the nightmare is finally over." Musa nodded, unable to speak. He watched as the 2 men in black suits stood guard around the old woman, their faces like granite. They were waiting. The entire market was waiting. A heavy, black SUV, the kind that cost more money than anyone in the village had ever seen, began to roll slowly through the front gate. It pushed aside the scattered crates and the spilled tomatoes, moving with a steady, quiet strength. It stopped right in the middle of the market, its engine humming like a giant beast. The market, once filled with the shouting of traders and the cries of the hungry, was now completely still, waiting to see who would step out of the car. The engine of the large black car hummed for a final moment before it went completely silent. The market traders stood as still as trees. Nobody dared to move. Everyone held their breath, their eyes fixed on the car door. The windows were very dark, so they could not see who was sitting inside. Musa stood by Mama Sarah, his hands feeling sweaty. He kept his eyes locked on the car, his heart thumping inside his chest like a drum. He had no idea what was going to happen next. He just knew that this moment was going to change everything for the poor people who worked in this dusty place. The door of the SUV opened with a soft, expensive sound. A man stepped out, placing his feet firmly onto the dry, brown earth of the market path. He was tall and looked very serious. He wore a simple, clean shirt and dark trousers. He did not look like a king, but he walked with the kind of power that made people want to move out of his way. As he stood up straight, the sunlight hit his face, and a low sound of shock rippled through the crowd. It was a sound of pure surprise. The traders in the market knew his face. They had seen him on television many times. They had seen his picture in the newspapers. He was Kojo, the famous billionaire from the big city. Everyone knew Kojo. He was the man who owned the massive buildings and the giant ships. He was the man who could buy and sell things that the village people could not even dream of. To see him here, standing in the middle of their dirty, noisy market, was like seeing a star fall from the sky and land in the dust. Linda's face turned from a shade of angry purple to a ghostly white. Her mouth hung open. She had been screaming just moments ago, acting like she owned the whole world, but now she looked like she wanted to disappear into the ground. She knew who Kojo was. Her husband had talked about Kojo's businesses, hoping to one day be as rich as him. Linda's knees began to shake so hard that she had to lean against a wooden pillar to stay upright. She felt as if the air had been sucked out of her lungs. She looked down at her muddy designer jeans and felt ashamed. Kojo did not look at the traders. He did not look at the broken wooden stalls. He did not look at the piles of spilled yams or the crushed herbs. He looked straight ahead, his eyes searching through the crowd. He was looking for someone very important. His face was very stern, but as his eyes landed on the small, frail figure of Mama Sarah, his expression changed instantly. The cold look in his eyes melted away, replaced by a warm, deep love. He didn't look like a rich billionaire anymore. He looked like a son who had finally found his mother after being worried sick. He began to walk toward her. His steps were long and confident. The market crowd moved out of his way as if an invisible hand were pushing them aside. They were all in a daze, trying to understand why a billionaire would be walking toward a poor old woman in a ragged brown dress. Musa felt a jolt of shock go through his body. He looked at Mama Sarah, then back at Kojo. He realized he had been protecting the mother of the most powerful man in the country. Linda saw her chance. Even though she was terrified, her greed and her desire to stay in power were stronger. She forced her shaking legs to move. She smoothed down her white blouse with her trembling hands and tried to fix her hair. She ran toward Kojo, her heels clicking fast against the hard dirt. She pushed past a few traders, wanting to be the first one to welcome the billionaire. She was already thinking about how she could trick him, how she could lie to him, and how she could tell him that she was the one who kept this market running. She wanted him to see her as a strong, powerful woman. "Sir, Mr. Kojo," Linda shouted, trying to make her voice sound sweet and innocent. She stopped a few feet away from him and did a little fake bow. She was breathing very fast, her eyes darting around. "Oh, sir, what a great honor it is to have a man as famous as you in our humble market. I am Linda, the wife of the market chairman. We are so happy you came to visit us. I am sure you have come to discuss business with my husband. Please follow me to our office. I can offer you the best chair in the room, and we can talk about how we can work together to make this market even better." Kojo did not even blink. He did not slow down his pace. He did not look at Linda. He did not acknowledge that she was even standing there. It was as if Linda was nothing more than a ghost or a piece of trash on the side of the road. She kept trying to talk, but Kojo just walked right past her, his eyes fixed only on Mama Sarah. "Sir, please wait," Linda cried out, her voice rising in panic. She reached out a hand, wanting to grab his arm, but one of the men in black suits stepped in her way. The man did not push her, but his presence was like a stone wall. Linda froze, her hands still reaching out, her face full of humiliation as the traders watched her being ignored. Kojo reached his mother and dropped to his knees in the dust. He did not care about his clean trousers. He did not care about the dirt. He reached out and took Mama Sarah's shaking hands into his own. His big, strong hands looked so different against her thin, wrinkled skin, but he held them with such gentleness that it made people in the crowd start to cry. "Mama," Kojo said, his voice sounding different, softer, kinder, and full of emotion. "Are you all right? Did these people hurt you? Tell me everything. Did anyone lay a hand on you?" Mama Sarah was still trembling, but she looked at her son with so much pride that she seemed to grow taller. "Kojo," she whispered, her voice full of love. "I am okay. I am safe now. But this young man, Musa, he stood in front of me. He protected me when the guards tried to force me onto my knees. He is a very good man, Kojo." Kojo turned his head and looked at Musa. His eyes were no longer cold or distant. They were full of genuine interest. Musa stood tall, though he still felt a bit shy in front of such a wealthy person. Kojo looked at Musa from his backward cap down to his dusty shirt. He nodded slowly, as if he were reading Musa's entire life story. "I have been watching, Musa," Kojo said, his voice loud enough for the people near the front to hear. "I have been watching from my car for a while now. I saw everything. I saw how you stood up for a woman you didn't know. I saw how you faced the sticks without running away. You have a heart that many people in this world have forgotten how to use. You did not do this because you wanted a reward. You did it because it was right." Musa felt his face get hot. He didn't know what to say. "I just did what I had to do, sir," he said simply. "I couldn't watch her suffer." Kojo smiled, a real, honest smile. Then he stood up and turned around to face the entire market. His expression changed again. It became hard and commanding. He pointed at the spot where Linda was still crouching in the dirt, looking like a broken toy. "Everyone, listen to me." Kojo's voice boomed across the market. Every trader, every buyer, and every barrow pusher went silent. "You all know me. You know what I do in the city. But there is something you do not know. This market belongs to me. I bought this land 2 years ago to keep it safe for all of you. I wanted this to be a place where honest people could work and provide for their families without fear." A murmur of shock went through the crowd. The traders whispered to each other, their faces filled with amazement. "I gave your chairman a job," Kojo continued, his voice sharp with anger. "I told him to manage this place. I told him to collect fair rent so we could pay for the lights and the security. I told him to treat every single person here with the same respect I would give my own mother. But he did not listen. He was a greedy man. He used his position to steal from you. He created these illegal taxes. He used his wife to threaten you. He made you pay for things that were already paid for." Kojo walked toward Linda, who was now sobbing quietly into her hands. "You thought you were the queens of this market," Kojo said to her, his voice cold. "You thought you could make these people your slaves, but you were nothing more than a tenant who was trusted, and a tenant who abused that trust. You took the money meant for medicine, meant for school fees, meant for food, and you put it into your own pockets." The traders began to shout. They were angry now. They were remembering all the times Linda and her husband had taken their last coins. A woman selling fish threw a rotten piece of fruit in Linda's direction. It hit the ground near Linda's expensive shoe. "Everything is over for you," Kojo said to Linda. "My legal team is at your husband's office right now. They are taking back all the books. They are taking back the keys to the gate. Everything you have stolen will be returned to the people you took it from. And the police are on their way to take you and your husband to answer for your crimes." Linda didn't even try to argue. She was completely crushed. She knew she had lost. She knew she could not fight a billionaire who had the truth on his side. Kojo walked back to Mama Sarah and helped her stand up. He put his arm around her shoulders. "Mama, let us go. You have seen enough of this place for today. But don't worry, the next time you come here, it will be different. It will be the place I promised you it would be." Mama Sarah looked at Musa one more time. She smiled, and it was the most beautiful smile Musa had ever seen. "Musa, thank you," she said. Musa nodded, feeling his eyes get wet. He watched as the billionaire walked his mother to the SUV. The crowd started to clap. It wasn't a polite clap. It was a loud, happy roar that seemed to go on forever. Musa felt like he was standing in a dream. He had just seen the most powerful person in the country treat a poor woman with more kindness than the chairman had ever shown to anyone. And he, a simple barrow pusher, had been a part of it. He stood tall, looking at the market that was finally truly free. The nightmare of the chairman was over, and the people of the market were ready to begin again. The air in the market felt completely different now. The heavy, dark cloud of fear that had hung over the stalls for so long had vanished. Kojo, the billionaire, stood in the center of the dusty ground, his tall frame blocking the harsh afternoon sun. Beside him, his mother, Mama Sarah, watched with calm, kind eyes. The people of the market stood in a wide circle around them, their faces filled with wonder and hope. They were waiting to see what would happen to the woman who had caused them so much pain. Two men in sharp, dark suits, who had been waiting by the SUV, now moved toward the back of the market. They were walking toward the small, fenced-in building that served as the market union office. This was where Linda's husband, the self-proclaimed chairman, spent his days counting the money he had stolen from the traders. A moment later, the men emerged. They were walking side by side, and between them was a man who looked very much like Linda. He was wearing an expensive, flashy shirt that was half-buttoned, and he looked confused and angry. Linda let out a small, sharp cry when she saw her husband. She tried to stand up, but her legs were still weak from the shock of everything that had happened. Her husband looked around the market, his face turning pale when he saw Kojo standing there. He had heard about Kojo's business success, but he had never imagined that the man who bought the market land was the same man who was now staring at him with such cold, hard eyes. Kojo walked toward the couple. He did not need to shout. He did not need to use his bodyguards to be intimidating. His presence alone was enough to make the husband stop in his tracks. Kojo held up a thick pile of documents. These were the real papers of the market, the ones that proved he was the true owner of every inch of the land. Kojo looked at the husband and spoke in a clear, steady voice. "You were given a simple job," Kojo said. "You were told to take care of the people here. You were told to be a leader, not a thief. But you chose to lie to everyone. You chose to make families go hungry so you could buy fancy cars and gold jewelry for your wife. You have broken the trust that I gave you. And today, your time in this market is over." The husband tried to speak, his voice trembling. "Sir, please, there has been a big mistake. We were just trying to help the market grow." "We were." Kojo held up a hand to stop him. He didn't want to hear any more lies. He looked at the legal team standing behind him. One of the lawyers, a woman in a very sharp gray suit, stepped forward with a notebook. She looked at the husband with a professional, serious look. "We have checked all your records," the lawyer said. "We have seen the hidden bank accounts. We have seen the extra taxes you forced the traders to pay. We have the names of every person you harassed. Your contract is canceled, effective immediately. You are banned from stepping foot on this property ever again. And the police are currently preparing a report on your fraud. You will have a lot of time to explain yourself in front of a judge." Linda began to weep loudly. She looked around the market, hoping to see one person who might feel sorry for her. But she only saw the people she had bullied for months. She saw Mrs. Mary, the widow who sold palm oil, holding her children close to her. She saw Mr. Thomas, the yam seller, looking at her with eyes that had no anger left, just a quiet, deep sadness. The public shame was written on their faces. It wasn't that they wanted to hurt her. It was that they were finally seeing her for what she truly was. She wasn't a queen. She was just a woman who had used her husband's power to make herself feel important. And now that power was gone. Kojo's men escorted Linda and her husband toward the main gate. The traders moved aside, not to cheer or jeer, but to watch in silence as the people who had terrorized them for so long were finally removed. It was a moral moment. It was the end of a long, dark chapter. As they were led out of the gate, the husband looked back one last time. His face filled with regret, but it was too late. The gates were closed behind them, and the market was finally peaceful. Kojo turned his attention back to the crowd. He asked his team to bring out a large box from the back of the SUV. He motioned for Musa to come forward. Musa walked slowly, feeling the eyes of everyone in the market on him. He felt humble, but he also felt like he was standing in the right place. "Musa," Kojo said, his voice warm and appreciative. "You protected my mother when you didn't even know she was my mother. You acted because you are a good man. The world is full of people who only look after themselves. It is very rare to find someone who looks after the stranger in the dust. I want you to have the largest wholesale shop here at the gate. It has been empty for months, and it is the best place in the market. I am also giving you the money to fill it with the best goods in the city, so you can help the traders get their supplies at a fair price." Musa was so surprised he almost stumbled. "Sir, I don't know how to thank you. I am just a man who pushes a barrow." "You are a man who leads with his heart," Kojo corrected him. "And you will lead this market as the head of a new committee of traders. You will make sure that the people who work here are heard. You will be the one who ensures that fairness is the rule, not the exception." Kojo then looked over at Mama Chaik, the herb seller, who was still standing by her wooden table. He walked over to her stall and gently picked up a bundle of the medicine that had been saved. He brought it back to Mama Sarah. "Mama," Kojo said, handing her the bundle. "Here is the medicine you came for, and from now on you will never have to worry about buying medicine again. We have a team of doctors in the city who will take care of your bones. You will not have to walk in the dust anymore. You will rest and you will be well." Mama Sarah took the herbs, her eyes filling with happy tears. She didn't look at the expensive billionaire son. She looked at the herbs, and then she looked at Musa, who was standing there with a humble, kind smile. She reached out and patted Musa's hand. "You see, my son," she said to Musa, "courage and humility are the strongest weapons. You used them today and you won." The market began to come alive again, but this time it was different. The traders started to talk to each other, not with fear, but with excitement. They started to plan how they would run the new committee. They talked about how they would fix the roof of the market together, how they would keep the paths clean, and how they would support one another. Musa walked over to his new shop. It was big, clean, and filled with sunlight. He imagined all the traders coming here, not to pay a heavy tax, but to buy the things they needed to build their own lives. He walked to the front of the shop and looked back at the entire market. He saw Mrs. Mary, the widow, laughing with her children. He saw Mr. Thomas, the yam seller, arranging his stock with a song on his lips. The transformation of the market was complete. It wasn't just that the wicked people were gone. It was that the good people had finally stood up for themselves. Courage had triumphed over cruelty. Humility had triumphed over pride. As the sun began to dip behind the tall trees at the edge of the village, the market felt like a brand new place. The dust was still there, but it didn't feel dirty anymore. It felt like the soil of a home that was being rebuilt. The noise of the market was still loud, but it didn't sound chaotic. It sounded like the rhythm of a community that was finally working in harmony. Kojo and Mama Sarah prepared to leave. As they got back into the black SUV, Kojo looked at Musa one last time. "I will be back in a few weeks to see how you are doing," he said. "Don't let them change you, Musa. Keep your heart exactly where it is." "I will, sir," Musa promised. The SUV pulled away slowly, leaving the market behind. Musa watched it go, then turned back to his shop. He saw his friends, the other traders, walking toward him. They weren't coming to pay him a tax. They were coming to ask him how they could help him set up his new store. They wanted to build something together. Mama Sarah looked out the window of the car as they drove away. She looked at her son, Kojo, and smiled. She was happy that he was rich and powerful, but she was more happy that he had not forgotten the value of a good heart. She was proud that he had come back to the place where she had raised him, not as a king, but as a protector. The market was finally at peace. The people were working together, the children were playing without being scared, and the simple, everyday life of the village had returned. Musa sat on his bench outside his shop, watching the night sky. He felt the weight of the day lift from his shoulders. He hadn't just changed the market, he had changed the way people believed in each other. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges. He would have to learn how to be a manager, how to handle the business, and how to keep the promise he had made to Kojo. But he wasn't afraid. He had the respect of his community, he had the support of a man who believed in him, and most importantly, he had his own integrity. The herbs Mama Sarah had bought were finally being used. Somewhere, in a small hut near the market, the smell of the dogonyaro leaves was rising in the air, a reminder that something as simple as medicine could mean the world to an old woman. It was a reminder that justice, though it may take a long time, always finds its way. The village was quiet now. The sounds of the market had finally faded into the gentle chirping of crickets. The market that had once been a place of cruelty was now a place of hope. And in the center of it all stood a man in a dusty, sleeveless shirt and a backward cap, who had proven that you don't need a crown to be a king, and you don't need a lot of money to be rich. You only need the courage to do what is right when the world expects you to do nothing at all. This was the harvest of justice, and it was the best harvest the village had ever seen. The legacy of that day would live on for generations. A story told to every child about the day the market was saved by a kind, muscular man and a billionaire who remembered where he came from. The market was changed forever, and the story of the kindness in the dust was only just beginning to be written.